remember if I had to.
Hello. There it goes.
Okay. Should I restart that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, sorry for anyone that's the three people that are kind of watching right now. We're gonna restart this because we had a microphone situation. So here we go. Hey, this is the Two Hippies, One Drunk on the Road edition. We're coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And on this week's episode, we'll be covering our time in New Orleans and Panama City. And what I was gonna say is that we actually just spent a weekend in Alabama, but we last week our episode was like so kind of short week, kind of like a short week at school or something because we had the car in the shop for a few days. This week is the opposite. That's why we're doing it on Sunday evening here. So we covered a lot, and we're in Alabama, and we just spent a weekend in Alabama, but we're going to just be doing New Orleans and Panama City. And I talk a little fast sometimes, so I need to slow down probably. Anyway, so far we all three have agreed that New Orleans has been our favorite city on the trip so far. I know it's like by far I want to come back already and spend like a good time there. Tyler, I know you guys both agree, but I want your kind of opinions on it.
Yeah, well, we actually have sound now, so I'll give you guys my opinion. I just thought it was an incredible place, and I feel like we didn't even get to touch the surface of this thing. It felt like so full of culture and so full of like life and music and good food and just so many things that we got to see just a glimpse into, and definitely be a place I'd love to go back and spend a week.
And there we are. Now we're caught up to where we were before, so we don't have to keep saying the same shit we just said and pretending like it's new.
For any Detroit cast listeners, Jay would say this would be transparent to the listeners, and they won't know that. But go ahead.
But yeah, so no, I would say like it's funny. I feel like for all three of us, it was our favorite city because it kind of fired on all cylinders as far as like I'm very much into magic, and this place has a huge voodoo culture, a huge voodoo history, which was awesome. Got to explore that. Tyler loves jazz. He loves that kind of. He loves. He got to busk, so like got to do that sort of a thing there, and that was perfect for him. And Eric loves social gatherings and parties and stuff like that. We got to go to fucking Bourbon Street.
Hey, and history. I do enjoy history.
And history and music as well.
All right. Well, no, I've just meant history because in the sense that it's funny, growing up, my parents took me to a lot of history stuff, but it was all out east, which was cool. But I don't know why I didn't realize that New Orleans would have such a strong history based on the fact that the French, coming here at one point, and the Mississippi River would have been such an economic like highway back in the day that I didn't think about it. But in the end, when I was there, it was like, duh. And so the point that Scott made is we did a few tours, even one being a voodoo tour, one being kind of just a history of the French Quarter, walking tours that are really cool. Our girl Sandy, by the way, on
shout out
to Sandy if you ever go down there and do these freewalkingtours.com, I believe it is, or something like that. If you go to like free walking tours, Sandy does a really cool job. But
somebody shouted out while we were on the tour that she is the best one, so check her out.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. So we saw a voodoo tour and a generic kind of thing about the French Quarter. Scott being more into some of that voodoo and magic, I'd be interested in you letting people know about that.
Yeah, what'd you think about
it was amazing. I mean, she took us by the house where Marie Laveau grew up, which was very cool. She took us to she kind of she did a really good job of laying out the actual history of voodoo from an African perspective instead of sort of the Hollywood version, which was awesome.
Which, by the way, it's funny, when I did the voodoo tour, the pictures kind of just show those famous New Orleans tombs where it's like the grave is above ground. And I thought it was like, oh, they're just calling it voodoo because it's, tombs and cemeteries. And it ended up being like legit just on the history of voodoo and voodoo in New Orleans. But it was, for someone who knew nothing about voodoo, what he says about going over the actual origins and some of that stuff, very interesting.
No, it felt more real than anything else you'd get. It did not feel cheesy.
No. And a good example of how alive the city was and everything is that, like, we had to stop the tour as she was telling us some stuff about an old park where they used to practice voodoo. A group of marchers just came over playing
like a
music.
Marching band.
Yeah, marching band playing music with a line of people following them and dancing. And everybody just kind of started dancing in the park. And we had to take a break for 10 minutes.
The tour completely stopped. And we just had to everybody was looking at them and using their phones to capture them on there and stuff. So it's like, it did kind of halt it. But it was such a cool thing to have.
Absolutely.
It felt like the most New Orleans thing that could ever, like, you see that in movies or TV, and yet legitimately we're on a tour and all of a sudden it's like,
Seriously, you hear a trumpet like from like a mile away, and you just hear it slowly closing in on us.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
And so, did you anything else on that tour specifically? Just because I know
I bought
you
a voodoo doll, which I'm excited to use.
Although again,
new.
and now you know this stuff, so you're a little more knowledgeable. Like, but it's funny, someone like me who found out really what voodoo, the whole thing with the voodoo dolls and sticking these pins and things into things, and it's of course not what Hollywood portrays it as, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah. See, in my personal way, I'm going to use it because she got into the fact that like that's not really even historically how voodoo dolls were used at all. They were more so used as containers for spirits, which is what I plan to do with it.
Or even like she was saying on the tour that it's like a way to heal someone, like take some bad crap out of them and put them in this object or something.
Yes, that
like,
as well. It's a container.
Sickness. Yeah.
Like more or less in whatever way you want to use it.
So
they don't believe in sympathetic magic. They don't believe in the idea that the doll would represent a person and that you could do something to the doll and it would happen to the person.
Yeah, and so that was cool. And I'm going to get into and then we did one on the French Quarter as well. And we're not going to go as much into that necessarily, but it was cool that we all liked this. It kind of threw me back to my, like I said, my childhood days, which I didn't appreciate as much as when I was younger, which is kind of normal, I'm sure. But like really, and we got Sandy both times, by the way. And so like really walking through this town, doing these, it's like, if you just go here by yourself, it'll be nice. You'll see the buildings and the architecture, but doing these walking tours just was so cool because you got at least a sliver. Like we said, we all want to go back. I'd like to go back for a week personally, but so that was really, really cool.
I thought it was really cool the way she was saying like bedrock doesn't really exist in New Orleans because of how close it is to the river and the fact that it's actually technically underwater. And so she would point out stuff where she would be like, you see that dip in the building right there? That's because of the lack of
everything
bedrock.
was all kind of uneven and stuff, like even the ground. Like they put splits in it so that it wouldn't completely crumble buildings.
Yes.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. Did you just have so you're gonna say or
about the tour?
No,
I pretty much covered it for me.
Okay, cool. And so we did that. And then we had some time between comedy, so we kind of just walked around. It was a little chillier, which was kind of a bummer, but that's okay. And as we mentioned, by the way, in the last one, my buddy Ty was there hanging out with us, and we were walking around, and there were last 3 performances going on there, and he ended up getting called in. and the funny thing was, a lot of them they were doing was like, some of these people, I've seen these in New York before, but when I saw them in New York, it was like, at the end, they do this thing where they jump over the crowd, right? I've seen it before where all of them are like acrobatic and they're doing jumps the whole time. This one, they were doing a little bit of everything, kind of some dancing, kind of just stuff to entertain people on the street. Anyway, our buddy Ty, who I think it is worth mentioning, I think it counts, it's needed to be mentioned, happens to be Asian, got pulled down.
It definitely matters.
Right, I was going to say.
They pulled him because he was Asian.
Right, I think this is necessary to the story. This isn't me just going, some Asian.
Yeah.
But anyway, he got called down.
I have Asian friends. What is that? I can't be a racist. I have Asian friends.
Exactly, that's what I always say. But he got called down. And I don't think he knew it, but it was literally by himself. Like everything else was like, oh, have 5 people and do funny dances.
Do dances and stuff, right?
And our buddy Ty ends up getting called down and doing basically like a Mortal Kombat scene.
Like a fighting scene, like a fucking, what is it, Jackie Chan style fight.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Which I would say, like this was the second day we got to meet Ty or whatever. I know that people in the Detroit cast are familiar with him because of Eric's stories. Awesome guy, and like honestly, like comes across is really chill and really down to earth, but somehow always finds himself as the life of the party.
Just insanely like low key confident. Like he's so good at it. Like even when he did that, I would hate that kind of situation. And he just rolled with it perfectly and killed it.
He was messing with the guy a little bit, even like not totally following his directions in a way that was fun.
Yeah, that is Ty. I will say, like, it's funny, like I can do that stuff too, but Ty has a next level version of it that is certainly has had some hilarious consequences throughout my years of hanging with him. So we ended up starring in this performance, which was kind of cool. And then really we started to get a sense. So we're about to by the way, I will say this, we did do comedy as well that evening. We did comedy a few times and it was really fun. I'm going to do an episode of one of our regular episodes, not after our fuck Robuary episodes, where we kind of delve into some of the comedy because of how these nature of these on the road shows go, we don't do it as much. So I'm going to get into this comedy a little later in another episode where we kind of sum up how it's been going. But for now, we did do it. It was fun. really interesting rooms and stuff. But as we're building up to that comedy, like we were walking around and and it's like the city, Tyler mentioned it, like the city, the amount of alive, and something that we did not realize before, by the way, going into is like, oh, we're not at Mardi Gras. We're all like the green. Oh, Mardi Gras is one day. No, there's carnival season. That's like almost 2 months. And we're kind of in the middle of it. And it was like, before we even got to Bourbon Street, which we'll get to, we were all just sitting there like, holy crap. I've been to Vegas. I've been to these places. I've never seen something like this. You want to talk about, like, even before kind of Bourbon Street?
Even before we got there, the streets were filled with people. It was just bumping. Everything in that little part we were in was completely insane. Just people going in and out of bars. There were strip clubs just down this strip. People going in there. Freaking people drunk as hell out on the street. And then also the insane traffic that goes on in that fucking place where people don't give a shit and they just drive. So like walk at your own risk. Like, and then, yeah, I mean, we got to Bourbon Street after that.
Yeah. And I would say too, like, definitely, almost anybody you talk to during this time of season, you're going to find yourself $20 shorter. If there was anything that was a little bit of a negative side to it. If anybody ever asks you, tells you that they know where you got your shoes, the answer is on my goddamn feet, and you keep walking.
And you keep walking. It was funny. Definitely got suckered into that.
For some reason, that's a New Orleans thing. I had one person tell me kind of, hey, be careful for people asking you about your shoes. And Tyler had someone do it, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is one of these things." And I tried to do one of these, but he didn't see it, and got swindled out of $10.
Before you even know what's happening, he's spraying shoe shine stuff on your shoes, and now like
rapping, confusing you, saying the same thing over and over again like a chant.
Right.
It was an experience.
I mean, it was a little voodooist, I guess. No, I'm just kidding.
A little bit.
And he got some money out of it. He swindled you out of those $10. But but
$5 a shoe, sir.
$5 a shoe. I would have only given him $5.
I gave him $5, and then he's like $10. And I'm like,
I know. But yeah, it was like rocking, and like I said, we did that, and then we had to do comedy first. And I was actually I'll get into this in that other episode, but I was starting to have falter moments. We've talked about this where tomorrow will be 6 weeks in. It is just not a vacation, but it is also awesome. Every day is awesome and every day is tiring. And I was like starting to fall a little bit before we did comedy. And I think thank God for my buddy Ty there. He kind of got us going. And then we do hit Bourbon Street. And then that is where, again, I've been to some places where they party. Bourbon Street, the debauchery, but also just fun. And like it, I don't even know. I've never seen anything like it ever.
No. And I was going to say too, like he was saying, like Mardi Gras season is a thing. Like people were, flashing their tits for beads like that. It doesn't just happen one day a year. Like I thought.
Right.
It definitely happens every weekend for 2 months.
Exactly. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh yeah, no. And it was awesome. If a woman tries to get you to take shots out of her mouth or out of her tits, those shots, sir, are not free.
Those are not free.
Yes, Scott learned that 6 times the hard way. I don't know. It took him
a little while.
It was one of those, I was drunk enough. I was like, this is obviously a scam, but like, in this moment, I don't give a fuck.
No, I was proud of you. I didn't think that was not something. I have done those in the past, and it's why I didn't do them this time, because I'm like, what? I've kind of done that. Yeah. But I was kind of proud that you did, because you know what? So what? You won 35. You had won 35 at the casino before. You're on Bourbon Street in carnival season.
Might as well spend it.
And you were getting them out of tits. Like, it wasn't like they were just handing them to you. So you got a little something.
That's true.
I thought you was going to say something about that.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so, that street. I kind of kept saying, like, we left, and I'm not going to get to the end yet. I'm just saying, like, we left, though, what would be normally late, but early it felt at, like, 2 a.m. is when we kind of left, for example. And I was shocked I hadn't seen throwing up in the streets yet.
Yeah, right?
I assume it still happened later, but, like, I've partied at Lansing for state. I've gone to Vegas where I've been walking up till 7 in the morning.
Same.
I have never seen the level of drunkenness and just open drunkenness of people stumbling around God bless them. I don't care. Good for them, man. Have fun. We were doing it ourselves.
Yep.
But like, I was shocked. I didn't actually see someone throw up, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly, out of our crew, nobody threw up, which is pretty surprising.
No, and which speaks to the weakness of those shots I was getting.
right.
I mean, you did get a lot of them. To be fair, there were a decent.
No, but what he's saying is, dude, you do 6 shots of tequila.
Yeah,
you're not
absolutely. You should have been way more fucked up. You should have been puking.
Oh no, they're weak as those things that they do with those shot girls. They're weak as fucking whatever. It is
okay,
what it
and
is.
I feel like I need to stress this ahead of time that like we are very considerate and kind to all of our Uber drivers on this trip. That is the thing we always try to do. That is what we always give them 5 stars. We're always friendly and congenial. We were wasted when we left Bourbon Street. I do not think our Uber driver cared for us in that moment.
I'm going to get back to the Uber driver in 1 second, but I'm also going to get to another. There's 2 old person moments that are coming up. One is how we recovered from Bourbon Street. And one is that, like, so we went to a lot of cool bars. And what was so cool about it, Ty said this. Ty ended up liking it better in Vegas, and that says a lot because Ty loves Vegas. But, like, you went into all these bars, and I know people, everyone, by the way, yes, Bourbon Street is Bourbon Street. It's touristy. It's new. I want to do more, but we're there for only a few days. We're doing Bourbon Street. It was Saturday night. And so anyway, but having said that, for people to say what they say about Bourbon Street, you walked in there like there was one place doing rap music, one place doing country music, one place doing this, and they all didn't feel. Ty legit was like they felt like you were at a local bar, even though it wasn't at all. And actually, we were in the most touristy version of New Orleans. It still felt fun and cool.
One of the things I want to say, Ty, too, another Ty story. We were at this hip hop place, and like for a second we lost him, and like we were like, "Where's Ty? We don't want to like lose him." And then we look up, and on the stage with him and the person rapping and 2 girls twerking, he's up there with sunglasses, like the most badass human being I've ever seen in my whole life. It was like, oh, there he is. I guess somehow he got up there. Like,
I was happy. I told you guys this. I was happy because I hadn't hung out with we and Ty haven't run a city like that in a while, like a Saturday night where we're just getting wasted. And so we were telling these stories of our past and we're older. And I said, in the end, I was kind of glad they got to see for a brief moment again. Probably won't happen for a while, but the Ty that I used to know and love. You know what I mean?
No, it was great. And I know and love him now too.
Yeah.
To be fair.
And so we did that. And I was going to say the other old person moment before the Uber to me is like, we ended up at this place that was playing kind of like early 2000s pop punk. And it was like, I was in heaven. I mean, they were playing, Green
awesome.
Day, blah, blah, blah. And at one point they do a Blink-182 song and we are all just like dancing and jumping. I mean, we weren't like at a bar where they were having a band. It felt like you were at a concert.
Yeah.
And there was like mosh pitting going on and jumping up and down. And it was awesome. Except literally after the next song, I walked out and said, guys, I know this sucks. Even though it was almost 2 a.m. But I'm like, I know it sucks. I'm done. I'm going home because I'm just old enough to know that no, I'm over now. If I don't go now, it's gonna be. And as it was, I didn't really leave the house the next day anyway. But
yeah.
So anyway, did you guys have any thoughts about like that moment or not really?
About going home?
No, because the fact that like did you get tired? Like I was literally
after that, I mean, I was sweating at that point. And it was definitely like, and it was cold at night. So like it definitely the second we left that bar, I was like, let's go. And I mean, it was another 40 minutes until we even left.
Right.
So like we did other stuff, but like that was the moment where it's like, yeah, I'm with Eric. Let's go.
And then so we get in this Uber and should I is it cool if I mention the big catchphrase here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
I wouldn't
cool.
care.
Okay, awesome. So we're waiting for this Uber, and I actually am really still bummed that we didn't like maybe pursue it, but because of the problem is the Uber was a $70 thing, and he was almost there, so I couldn't cancel it. I just couldn't cancel it. But we're about to get this Uber, and this girl walks out. And she's talking to Scott about how something's going on. She wants to tell him some story. I don't know why she can't just tell him here, by the way. She has to go to another bar. And then Scott's like, oh, yeah. And then she's like, I'm a lesbian, by the way. I'm a lesbian. And he's like, that's fine. I want to hear the story. And she seemed very cool. She seemed very interesting. But then, like, it just got thrown around eventually. The Ty started really trying to prod, like, Scott, are you mad that Eric stopped you? Yeah, she said she's a lesbian. Who knows, though? She blah, blah, blah. And it became the story that basically, because I wouldn't cancel the Uber, Scott missed out on an angry lesbian hand job. and
which it would have been.
Right. And the reason this, I do believe, was needed is because that lends into, I think that I would like you to explain the Uber ride home.
Oh, yeah, no. Imagine it's 3 people Like, and they're most wasted without puking. All yelling at 4 people.
Yeah.
All yelling about an angry lesbian hand job is they're being driven off of Bourbon.
Well, and like we're all
Well,
just
3 of you were yelling about that. To be fair, I was not one yelling about the angry lesbian.
And I'm drunk enough. I'm asking the Uber driver, I'm like, do you think I should have stayed for the angry lesbian hand job? I could have just gone back later. Maybe I should have stayed. And he's not saying a word.
No.
like literally no response. Not
He's
kind of
just
like,
you
yes, sir.
motherfuckers.
Yeah,
Like,
not kind of like, I don't know, man. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like nothing.
Okay, you know what though? This is why it's double the rate. Like
that
that
is
it
the point.
typically would be.
Yeah.
That is the thing, though. Having said that, and dude, I understand it. I've been a server in my life. I've actually done other jobs that have involved tips. I do get it. But you are picking people up on Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
It is Saturday night. It is a double rate, which I am assuming they get a little more money themselves. Now, in the end, I actually tipped pretty well as well. But like, they do get more money in prime time like that, and it is Bourbon Street. What are you thinking? If you don't want to deal with that, those kind of jobs, you can just kind of like, hey, I'll stop at 5 p.m. on Saturday.
And you know what? I wish we would have had our cool Uber driver on the way there.
yeah.
On the way back, because she was like this old Asian lady, and she's talking to us. You know, we're already pretty lit at that point, but we're not as drunk as we will be.
Yeah.
And we're talking to her. She's like, "Oh yeah, Bourbon Street is awesome. You can see boobies, you can see penis." Like,
She really was
Yes.
selling it. You know?
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
she was like, "It's a great time. It's a lot of fun." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, just get out there, guys. Go at it.
Go at
And
it.
then
Have
she
fun,
kind of
boys.
then she kind of let us into the streets. She's like, go have it, guys.
Yeah, we didn't even stop. We were supposed to stop. We were just in traffic,
Yeah.
and she let us out of the van.
She's just like, okay, guys, be free. Go
Yeah.
enjoy. So that the other old person moment lends to the next day in the recovery. I personally didn't leave the house the night. I mean, short of a few, I did like a walk around the neighborhood. I think I walked up to get some eggs or something. But
which is also the most old man phrase I think I've ever heard you say in your entire life.
What did I say?
I walked around the neighborhood to go get eggs.
Oh, well, I said I walked around the neighborhood, and then I think I went up to get eggs. I think I said-
Yeah.
I
You
did-
didn't ask people. You didn't go to the neighbors and be like, "Can I have some eggs?" sir?"
No, I did 2 different walks. One kind, whatever. I get what you're saying. No, I do get what you're saying. But like, and I will say on my end, there was 2 football games that I was actually kind of interested in. The Airbnb, I think we got into it last time, but it was so nice, and the beds were so comfortable, and it was like they had the TV right there. And I said to myself, we're on such a long trip. I know you want to do more. I just have to come back to this city. That wasn't the day.
Yeah.
I took the day after Bourbon Street to literally be a lazy motherfucker and just sit in my bed watching football until I went to bed right after Stafford won his game. These guys did go out and try to do comedy, and then they even did some karaoke. And like, but Ty, for example, Ty tried. Ty's like, I'm only here for 3 days. I'm not like you guys. I should do more. And he went to try to do the art museum, and he said he walked around for about a half an hour, and he's like, yep, that's it. And he got his ass back home himself because he tried. I give him credit. But that was like for me, old person, like I didn't do nothing that day. It wasn't as bad as after Pat Green. I was not hungover. I just was like, no, I'm not leaving this place. Fuck that. And these guys did some comedy and karaoke even, which actually I do want you to mention the karaoke because they mentioned they had literally girls twerking in the bar.
Yeah. That shit was wild. I mean, honestly, the stand-up show was pretty cool because they had a legit, honestly, if I ever did a show again, like me and Scott used to run one, I would do it like this. It felt like an actual comedy show. There was no sports on the TV. It had a big stage. It had backstage. They really treated it like a featured event, but it was open mic essentially.
Yeah, and the only problem with it was over 3 hours long.
Yeah,
Which
it was
is-
a
which
very
is-
long show.
That is way too, like 2 hours each. To be honest, hour and a half, but 3 hours, that's a little long. I didn't go, obviously, but it is what it is. They're trying to get people up. And so that was that.
But yeah, it was a good show. And then we went and did karaoke. And me and Scott have a staple of doing Get Low whenever we do karaoke.
Get Low by Lil Jon and the Yin Yang Twins.
Which, by the way, a teaser for next week's episode will come into the Alabama week.
Anyway, yes, that is true. And legit had women twerking right in front of us, just like hardcore dancing. Like we turned that place up. They had to, like Scott said, they had to take a song break because it was too intense.
Karaoke.
Karaoke.
Yeah, they did. It was the only song break they did the entire time we were there too. I mean, we were there for like 2 hours.
Yeah, so that I wish I would have seen that, but I was not good. I'm older than these guys. I need more recovery.
You took a break that day. I took a break the next day.
And that is how it's been going.
And I took some breaks earlier. I went hard this entire time, and I'm kind of losing my mind.
Exactly.
No, we're even now. We're even now with stand-up shows, just for the record.
Yes.
Finally,
Yes.
everybody's we're at the same level.
That's funny. That's funny.
Which we'll also get into our impromptu stand-up show in the next episode.
Yes,
That's
that
also
as well
thing.
will be coming up next, or next week, I should say. But so basically, we did do the other tour that day, but we kind of lumped the tours together. So overall, that's our New Orleans time.
Well, I want to
go ahead.
say, I bus downtown.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry.
absolutely. I
Jesus
took
Christ.
my guitar downtown and played some music. The only thing I was going to say, I loved it. It was really fun. I feel like I told Eric before, I don't know. I felt more comfortable with that than doing a stand-up a lot of the time. It was a really cool experience. But I'm at a city where some of the best musicians and some of the best people in the world at doing music are on the street doing it too. You could hear full bands on corners, like at every little corner. So I kind of had to go off and do my own thing. I made a little bit of money for an hour. I made like $6. And honestly, if I made nothing, it was still an amazing experience and it was awesome.
And I would say the analogy I would use is like for your first time busking, it's like if you were pretty good at basketball and you went to the NBA.
Yeah.
And just like, hey guys, what's up?
And then it's like, obviously like lost the game, but you scored a couple of 2-pointers on fucking like Scottie Pippen or whoever.
I love when Scott tries to talk sports.
I know, literally.
You didn't do that bad. You
Yeah.
said a name that was real.
Yeah.
You said a shot that was real. So
Okay, but here's the thing. I had to go to Scottie Pippen because literally my brain went to like, who did I used to pick playing NBA Jam when I was like 10?
Yeah.
That's something. Like I said, that's a real player, and good for you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Good for you.
No, go ahead.
No, we did that and then got some awesome lunch. At a Lakeview Terrace kind of thing.
And by lake, you mean the Mississippi River.
Yeah, not the lake. River. River.
No, cool shit. And then that was kind of a bummer leaving that place because my buddy Ty was left. We were there 4 days. The Airbnb was cool. But like everything in this trip, it's sad for a little bit. We had a sad leaving this morning that we'll talk about later again. But it was onward and upward to a Panama City, which I will say I'll give a big shout out for anybody, by the way, that saw how beautiful the place we were staying at is. FYI, we do still not have as much money as it looks like we have at times, and you can also help us out if you want here and there. Eric, ERIC, Fady, F as in Frank, ADIE for Venmo. We do a lot of videos. We do 3 episodes a week. My Big E comedy venture, this 2 Hippies on the road, the 2 Hippies regular episode. All we're really asking if anyone feels it in their heart to give maybe $1 a week here and there through the Venmo. It would really appreciate us. We'd really appreciate it. It looks like sometimes we're staying at these places. I'm very lucky to be Garth Brooks has friends in low places. I'm a fucking I'm the low person who has friends in high places somehow. And I have a buddy that hooked us up with a cool timeshare. And we couldn't swindle this one because we had a friend there. So we had to play good boys this time. But it was right on the fucking Gulf Coast. And it was so beautiful. And
I loved it too because we didn't know if we would have an ocean view.
Yeah.
And because we couldn't tell. But as soon as you walk in there, they have a freaking wall to ceiling just window out to the ocean. It was one of the most beautiful places I've ever stayed at.
Yeah, you could really do a classy suicide right out of
yeah.
No question.
It would be classy.
Do you think you die? Do you think you die from that height?
6th floor. The problem is you're landing on sand.
Maybe not from our thing, but if you're doing it classier and nothing against the place we stayed at, I'd go to a little. There were some places with like 20 floors, and you're gonna die there.
Yeah,
that's true.
No,
you're splatting. You can't put that person back together for their wake.
What was really cool that we two that we all did is we had a balcony, and they had a room, and I kind of slept on a full out couch in a living room / kind of kitchen area. It was kind of like an apartment. And we had 2 doors that led to the balcony, and we didn't close those doors. Like even at night, like we just left them open the whole day.
Just the ocean, man.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Just that it was this constant rumble that was very welcome. Like honestly, I loved having that like ocean just washing in every single second. It was awesome.
It was like a bougie version of putting a fan in your window.
Yeah,
I would say extra bougie version. I mean, a fan.
The ocean. I moved near the ocean to get that. That's bougie. I would say.
Yeah, extremely bougie.
For those of you watching the Clash at LA, Chase Elliott just crashed, son of a bitch. Anyway, I know that's a lot of people are interested. Anyway, no, but so we're in Panama City, and we ended up kind of like we did a comedy that we'll talk about here in a second, and we did
a comedy.
We did
a comedy show.
We did a show, a comedy show, and we did a podcast that you can watch. Where, by the way, with our Fuck Robuary, we did our first episode on Fuck Robuary, where we kind of went through how terrible of a person he is via like media interviews and outlets, and we talked a little bit about that. That's up on our
Rob Schneider. He's speaking.
Oh,
about.
Sorry, Rob. Yes, yeah. Rob Schneider, the very beloved Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
And so we did
You Can Do It thing.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard that thing? You Can Do It. That's that guy, and he sucks. But to find out why he sucks, you can go to Two Hippies, One Drunk and find out. We talk about him a little bit. But we did that in the podcast, but we kind of kept it low key because. How often, even for like, dude, you don't just get to stay in a place like that in the ocean too often. So we really kind of took advantage of it, doing just walks down by the beach and, some meditation and just like in general, enjoying the coolness of the sounds. Honestly, for anyone that's ever stayed by the ocean, and a lot of people have, I mean, it is nothing like it. Just hearing that constant calming sound of the ocean. So we kind of kept it low key, although some of us got a little day drunk. At one point, but
Scott,
I managed to set a harder pace than Tyler and Eric this week by just being drunk the entire time.
Yeah. Scott, yeah. I almost was there, but I'm just an adult enough that I stopped and took a little nap. But I could have been if I wanted to be. But so we did. And by the way, I don't even know what to say about the place. Anyone's been to Panama City, because it's not like Panama City is a culturally rich place like New Orleans, but because of our place, it was so cool, and we really enjoyed it. And thanks to Mr. Kennedy for hooking us up with that. And then we did comedy. One of the most fun comedy things we've done so far on this trip.
Real. It was our favorite, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Called the Library, I believe.
And we've had good nights. Like, that's not even this is like just specifically, this is an amazing night.
No, we actually have had Albuquerque was really good. We had one in San Diego that was pretty fun. There's been some fun nights.
We've also had nights where one or two of us have killed it. The other person's done okay. Like, it's just normal. You do all this. This was a night where all three of us got to shine like crazy,
just kill it. I mean, I went first, and like I was nervous because I haven't gone first at a show with what do we have, like 14 people in the lineup or whatever,
right? And you do it, Tyler, because he does the nature of your comedy. It's a little different. Yeah, you have the guitar.
It's easier to when it's later in the show, just so you have something different.
Right? Exactly. I mean, they almost feel like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's breaking it up.
Yep, exactly.
But on the same hand,
here's our comedy show.
Yeah. But I really was encouraging because I thought it'd be good for you to try, because you're really nervous about it. Like, dude, you'll be fine.
Yep. And you performed a new song you weren't even expecting to do that night that you had been practicing.
And I will say this, and I'm not trying to be like that. I did just have a feeling there were people there. Like it wasn't that there's places we would have gone on this trip that I would not have been so like. I'm not saying I would have told you, oh boy, this
maybe switch with somebody, bro.
Right. But I just felt it, and then Tyler did good. And then I got up and I had a really good set, and Scott had a really good set. But the support, it was such a very supportive nature of these people. Janet, by the way, if she's watching, this is the second shout out to Janet and the guys at, like I said, I think it was the Library, I believe, bar or whatever you would call it. It's not a nightclub, so it's like a bar or saloon or something like that.
If you're a stand-up in the area, definitely check that place out.
Yeah,
if you
for
haven't
sure.
Yet, because it's one of the most welcoming rooms I've ever been in.
And the truth is, when you're doing this, especially when you're doing a lot of open mics and stuff, there are nights where you feel unwelcome, you feel kind of like an outsider or something like that.
Just with us being out of state, especially.
You're rolling into these places, nobody knows you, like all of that. This place here, I mean, they were buying us drinks complimenting us. Like it was a really incredible night afterwards too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we hung out with them.
Sorry.
What was the hobo?
The hobo room.
The hobo room?
Hobo. I thought it was bar, whatever. Hobo
whatever
bar,
it is. The hobo bar. Yeah, we went with them, like all the comics afterwards to go hang out there. Yeah, they bought us all drinks. We hung out with them. We had a great time.
No, it was really a lot of fun. And then should we mention the headlights or no?
Oh, yeah. Got pulled over, guys. We definitely got pulled over. I was driving. I drive Eric's car sometimes, but typically it's during the day.
Yeah, not at night.
And he has to turn on his lights, and I had no idea.
Yeah, they're not automatic lights.
And we were like, honestly, like a minute away from the bar. I literally just went around the corner and like was on my way home. And we got pulled over, and we met, honestly, the nicest cop I've ever met. The best interaction with a police officer I've ever had in my whole life.
I was even blown away and I've actually not had two terrible experiences, but I was even blown away. Like And luckily Scott, you know what's funny? This is always an interesting thing that people have different ideas of how things should go. And my thing is always zip up, don't say shit. And Scott really threw it out there like, oh, I'm sorry, man. We know we have a DD, and that's how
which
it goes.
was me because they did buy us drinks, but I kept saying no.
Right, they bought them for me, Scott and I, and stuff. And in the end, it was like Scott was right. It was he
loved that we had a DD.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, that's awesome, guys. I'm glad
Thank you for doing a DD. Yep. We appreciate that."
Thank you, sir, for not taking us to jail for some reason that I don't know about.
Right.
No, by far, in a string of bad police interactions that Tyler and I have had in our life, that was the one time it went okay.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I'd do it again.
I'd do it again. I don't know what that means exactly, but he would do it again.
Yeah.
And so that comedy went really well. And then we're going to end our Panama City kind of run with, because like I said, I would talk more about where we were. But again, Panama City is a touristy place. If you've been there, you know. And we got literally lucky. I don't feel like rubbing it in that we had this awesome place, but it was awesome and we did enjoy it. But we will end it by talking about the situation we had that we got. I don't know how none of us understood that this was going to at least question. I think we would still would have walked. But
I told somebody about this and they were like, how'd you not know? And I was like, I don't know.
And so what he's getting into is we all like karaoke actually. And so we thought we wanted to do something that day. We're in this cool area and we found something that was 3 to 7 p.m. And we karaoke in the middle of the week, 3 to 7 p.m. But we all just kind of thought like, okay, this is kind of a touristy town. It's down on the beach. Maybe they just do these kind of things to get people in and then stay after, or it just that's how they roll down here. We walk, and for one, we walk 3 miles on the beach. Because we kind of thought we'll walk there. If we have too many drinks, we'll get an Uber back. At least we're cutting the thing in half. It's not a bad idea to walk on the beach, look at the ocean.
In full coats, because it is kind of cold. Like, we were in full, like...
This was not a leisurely Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, I wasn't wearing shorts and sandals.
No.
It was like boots and fucking a coat.
Windy. The day before, it got sunny and 70. And that is where I was sitting out listening to my Jimmy Buffett. This day was a windy... colder day, So we walked 3 miles to get there and on the beach, and we walk in. I don't know. There might have been, if there was anybody under 60, it wasn't many. Like
it was an old folks home that was throwing a karaoke night.
A song, Ride, Sally, Ride. And then there was like, and just like bebop or something, or big band music.
And we walk in like weary travelers coming in from the desert.
Covered in sand and sweaty. And like go, because it's not even at the main bar. There's a main bar downstairs, and then you have to walk up to this hall that's like, honestly, it reminds me of like a veterans area.
VFA.
VFA. And like just 200 old people, really old.
And I would say good for these old people. They're like 60 and 70, and they're having beers and they're doing karaoke.
No
good on them. But we were all kind of still tired, and we all have better days and bad days. And this was one of these days where we kind of were forcing it. We were all a little bit anxiety and stress from some of the stuff.
Well, and I know we're really hitting on how old these people are, but like, I'm willing to bet money somebody has died at karaoke.
That night.
Right. I went. That's a great point. I mean, they were old. Not to be mean. In fact, and like I said,
80s.
Respect, man. Good for them to do that shit. But these were old motherfuckers. And we were all kind of like,
yeah. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. I was irritated because I was like, we just walked 3 fucking miles.
Right.
Let's do one song. And Scott made the right point to say, we're going to be waiting here for 2 hours.
If you walk up your age in that crowd, he might be like, you have 10 people in front of you.
Yep.
Honestly. And then it's like, and then he might decide to sing a song.
Yeah. To be fair, one of my problems too is I do pretty much exclusively rap music. It would not have gone well for me. Tyler does like Michael Bublé and Frank Sinatra. He would have gotten some granny panties thrown in.
Most likely.
I never thought about that Bublé. Yeah, you got some panties thrown on that stage.
I don't want those panties. Those are like parachutes they're throwing up there.
Right. And so I will say this was our first little tiff, as it were, on the trip, because but I think it was mainly, in the end, it was all because none of us really, we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And there wasn't an obvious answer. And some of it, we had walked 3 miles, and that took us almost an hour. And we were and then it's like, and since we walked, by the way, and if we weren't going to do it, we didn't want to get the Uber, because if you're going to not even do it, you don't
not
want
even drink or have a reason for the Uber. Like, now we're going to walk 3 miles back.
Right. And it's like,
so 6 miles.
And it's
right
not
now.
the greatest day. And we were all kind of weird anyway that day. We had done a podcast and stuff, but
just tired.
We did end up walking back. About half of that walk was a little contentious, I will say.
yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It definitely was.
But that's just, I mean, we've been on the road. Nothing got personal, nothing got anything that, but we're just in a weird spot, and none of us were happy about the situation. It wasn't like I was like, nope, right call, and just, no, it was more just like, I think this is the thing we should.
It got to the point where, like, I was in that, I feel like this is a common phrase when you're having, like, a dumb little spat, where I was just like, just leave me alone for a second. I need a second.
Right.
And then it's like, and then we were kind of fine.
No, and then we were fine. We started making jokes again and stuff like that. But it was the first little tension of the trip.
And in fact, one thing we talked about, I believe, that night as well as other times, is that, like, it's pretty remarkable we've been in these confined spaces for this long and not had anything like that.
And it's like, this wasn't, and I would almost, in the end, I wouldn't even call this like a fight.
This was like a 3 out of 10 fight.
Yeah. If not even 2 to me, like, honestly, because it was I think we all knew what we needed to do, but we just were in different phases of acceptance yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And none of us were full on acceptance, by the way. I was like halfway through the walk still going, did I make the right call? I think I did. But anyway.
We did. We made the right call.
Do you want to say something?
We definitely made the right call, because we did karaoke the next night, which we will get into in our next episode. And it was one of the coolest bar experiences we've ever had in our entire life.
Yeah.
So there you go. You got that. Look forward to next weekend. Panama City was awesome. New Orleans was awesome. Remember, we did the 2 Hippies. We'll be back on Wednesday with another episode of the Fuck Robuary theme. Where we're putting a Rob Schneider on blast, as it were, for a month, for a few episodes in a row here. Remember, I'll do my big E comedy venture with Amy most likely tomorrow. I don't think it's going to change, but sometimes things happen. And then we do this just based on whenever they're on the road episode, whenever we do it. Please, we love that you've been our numbers, by the way. I'm not trying to be that person, but we've been looking at our numbers. It's so cool. Like, the numbers on this Facebook page and our other social media platforms are really doing well. You guys are really interacting and watching stuff like that. So we really appreciate that. Shares. I did a really ridiculous situation where I fell off my kayak into the water yesterday, and we put that on a video. It's doing well, but like, if you see one of those that you really think is funny, if you share it, that helps so much with social media and getting things out there. But you've already been liking stuff, so thank you so much for everybody that's been liking it. Like I said, we do have the Venmo account, ERIC, F as in Frank, ADIE, not asking a lot, and we'll never make it forceful, but just maybe $1 a week here and there if you could. We'd appreciate that. Do you have any last thoughts on this episode?
This has been a hell of a thing. That's what I would say.
6 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah. I've said this a million times in the car. I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast, so maybe I'm repeating myself, but I don't think so. But like, the way time has just collapsed on this trip, it is so insane to think about when we're talking about this stuff, that this was a week ago.
Yeah,
right.
Like every day has been a set of experiences that prior to this, we probably would have had over the course of a week or a month.
Right. No, I know what you're saying. Exactly. So yeah, it's a wild thing. I guess that's it for this week. Okay. See ya. Bye.